Hello. I hope everybody's doing great. I am streaming simultaneously on Instagram and YouTube. I'm going to be talking about some of the candidates for VP today. There's a lot of names. I hope we can go over a lot of them. Give me a thumbs up in the chat, in the comments. And if you have any questions, I hope I can see all of them. It's a little bit hard to follow so many things. We are 95 days away from the election. Melissa is here. Melissa, go to YouTube. It's going to be so much better because I can share my screen. The beauty about streaming on YouTube is that you can share your screen, and I'm going to be sharing photos of the different candidates that I'm going to be talking about. So this is going to be a little overview so that you are more familiarized with some of the candidates by Joe Biden. Do you guys hear me okay? I just realized my headphones were muted. So if you hear me okay, I hope so. Okay, my husband is giving me a thumbs up, so I guess you can hear me. Everybody joining the live on Instagram, if you can, it's going to be a lot better if you follow me on YouTube. Just search Tono Latino and you'll see me. You're not going to see me there. You're going to need the link. So go to my Instagram stories and swipe the link because it's unlisted. Unless I'm able to change it right now. I'm a little bit of a chicken. Let's just do it. Let's just go live publicly. Okay, aquí me doy la bendición. What's the worst thing that can happen? I have some wine from A to Z Winery, my favorite rosé. I have water. I prepared my content. I had coffee earlier today. I think life is good. So let's get started. I have a list of, let's see how many I have. I think it's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like 8, and I have a little bit of another one. But let's start talking about, let me share my screen. So if you're on Instagram, head over to my YouTube channel to see this because it's going to be a much better experience. Okay? And you're going to be able to see the photos that I'm sharing of these amazing women. And right now, you should, you know what? It's a little, I don't want you to see that yet. I don't want to see that yet. And I don't want you to see Elizabeth Warren yet. You already can see a little bit of who I'm going to talk about. I'm trying to find the information about Karen Bass. And we're going to fix this right here. There. I'm going to get better and better at this YouTube live thing as I go along, right? Because it's a little bit hard. There's a lot of things going on. But I want to talk about Karen Bass. She is a name you might have heard going up in popularity, especially in the last 2 weeks, because she was most recently seen talking to Joe Biden at the, I guess, not funeral, but event that was being held for Representative John Lewis at the state capitol. And she was seen talking to Biden, so that's why there were some whispers about that. Let me tell you a little bit more about her. She is a representative from California. We're talking about Karen Bass. And she is a distinguished federal and state, she has a distinguished federal and state career. She was a speaker of the California Assembly and also the chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus. She's a solid progressive favorite. She's not well known nationally, and that's something against her. Also, she has praised Fidel Castro in the past, and that's going to go really, really bad with the voters in Florida. anybody joining me right now, we're talking about the possible VP candidates for Joe Biden, a list of amazing women that it's honestly been really interesting and fun to find out more about these women. Melissa is in YouTube. This is great. If you can give me a thumbs up, a little love. I hope you have something to drink. I have some wine right here. I have some water as well. But let me keep talking about Karen Bass. As I was saying, she's not well known nationally, but she has a lot of experience. If you are seeing me on YouTube, you should be able to see her photo. I hope you can see her. If you can believe this woman is 66 years old. Whatever she's doing for her skin treatment, is great. Somebody in the Instagram live is saying that he should pick Julian Castro. That's never going to happen because he said he's going to pick a woman. So men are not going to be on the ticket. As I was saying, she has kept a very low profile until recently. She's been very vocal about the need for Biden to pick a woman of color for the VP spot. So that is something that you might have already heard a lot. And a lot of the candidates that I have on the list, and the candidates that we know are possibly on the list, are several women of color. But I also hear that the VP pick doesn't really change voter, increase in voting. However, we've never had a female VP, so that could get people interested. There's so many different questions. She also, Karen Bass, who I'm talking about, she's a representative of California. She has represented a district from Los Angeles in the House since 2011. And she has a lot of experience related to healthcare. She was an emergency room physician assistant at the outset of the AIDS crisis, and she's also a civil rights activist. So I name her first because her chances are not super high. She's not the name that we've been hearing a lot forever. So let's talk about somebody else, unless anybody has questions about Karen Bass. We're going to switch to somebody else. The next person that I want to talk about is, let me find her name right here on my list because I have them all. There we go. Val Demings. So if you are able to go on YouTube, you will see that I'm sharing the photos of all these women and their names so you could get more familiarized with the possible VP nominee with Joe Biden. So it's best if you go to YouTube, by the way. So let's talk about Val Demings. She is a U.S. representative from Florida. And she grew up in Florida. She grew up poor in Florida. She is a member of the House, and she also came to prominence earlier this year because she was a member of the House impeachment managers team. She was named for that role by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She has a lot of experience in law enforcement. She was a police officer for 24 years, and then she was chief of police in Orlando for 3 years. And during her tenure in Orlando, that area experienced a sharp drop in crime rates. She has also been very outspoken about her ability to promote improved relationships between the community and the police because she is a former Black police chief, which would be absolutely great. However, here's the thing against her. I'm seeing some great comments here in the YouTube channel. There are some allegations that while she was police chief, there were excessive force allegations against police officers. So that would certainly be a problem. And as I said, she is not well known. She's only in her second term in the House of Representatives. And she has this issue with, great, she was a police chief and she could help with all of the discussion nationally about police brutality. But during her tenure, there were allegations that her, I guess, what do you call the area that the police chief manages? There were allegations of police excessive force. So that's not so good. So Eduardo, I think you don't need to worry about that too much. It's Friday, happy hour time. I'm drinking rosé. I would love to know what else you guys are drinking. I know David loves to drink Kool-Aid. David, write down in the comments if you're drinking Kool-Aid, because he's from Utah and I think it was like blue Kool-Aid, which I said was fantastic. Let's talk about another black. This is 2 in a row. We're gonna do 3 in a row. Somebody in the chat is asking me which district she is from. I don't know the question, so please write the full question because I don't know what you're asking. That also happens to be my husband. So, esposo, necesito que escribas bien la pregunta porque no sé qué es lo que me estás preguntando. Okay, and I love you, by the way. So let's talk about another woman who happens to be a name you might be familiar with, Susan Rice. Susan Rice is also a black woman. She's a former national security advisor. She has something that nobody else has. She has worked closely with Biden during the Obama administration. She has a long history of work with human rights issues, but here are a few of the cons against her. She has never run for public office. She also was a key figure in the Benghazi incident during the Obama administration. And she made some statements in 2012 after the Benghazi diplomatic post was attacked that are going to be used against her. So she said that the attack had been prompted by an anti-Muslim video, and that was incorrect. And she blamed, or she said that this was based on American intelligence estimates at that time, but Republicans accused her of misleading the public. And that probably cost her being promoted to be Secretary of State under Obama. Juan is in the house. Juan, go to YouTube, to my YouTube channel, because you can make a lot better comments and you can see the photos that I'm sharing of these women that I'm talking about. David in the YouTube channel is telling me that he's still drinking the blue Kool-Aid, and I absolutely love it. And now I'm wondering if he's thinking of like the Kool-Aid, like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid and it's blue because it's Democrat, or if he's literally drinking blue Kool-Aid. Because that just clicked in my head. David, I need you to clarify that. So I'm sharing Susan Rice's photo on my screen. I guess you would say on my screen. The in and the on in English is so hard. I was telling you a little bit more about Susan Rice. So she was the U.S. ambassador to the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations under the Obama administration, and then she was national security advisor. She worked closely with Biden. Ayuda en Español on Instagram is telling me that YouTube is better. I'm telling you, YouTube is better because you can see the photos and you can do the chatting a lot better. She's only 55, so she's quite young. And she also held positions in the Clinton administration at the National Security Council and was the Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs. So she is very well prepared. Like my husband says, más preparada que un yogur. Like, I don't know how you say that in English. More prepared than a yogurt? Does that even make sense in English? I don't know. I don't think so, but it doesn't matter. You know what I'm trying to say, right? So that is Susan Rice. Let's go and see somebody else. We've already covered Karen Bass. We've talked about Val Demings, Susan Rice. Let's talk about another woman of color. Anybody joining me on Instagram, go to my YouTube channel. And while you're at it, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. I'm going over the list of female candidates for VP for Joe Biden. We're going to talk about a Latina. The only Latina that I'm aware is on the list. And if you know her name, write it down in the comments before I'm able to change the photo over here. I wish I could show you all the stuff that I have to control in the background to try to show you this stuff. Her name is Michelle Lujan Grisham. She is the governor of the state of New Mexico. Let me go down to all of the stuff that I have written about her. So, she's a Latina. She is, apparently she's been very good at her job. She has a solid progressive record in New Mexico, and she also has prior history of serving in the House of Representatives. She was elected to the House of Representatives in 2012, and she served 3 terms before she became governor of the state, and she became the first Latina Democrat to win a governorship. She drew national attention this year because of her quick response to the coronavirus pandemic. So she locked down the state of New Mexico as soon as there were 4 confirmed cases in the state, which is completely the opposite of what we've seen from the federal government, that doesn't do anything, or the opposite of Rick DeSantis in Florida. Juan Sao, what do you think about your governor? New Mexico has been at the forefront of testing, and as of mid-July, it ranked as 4th in the nation for the amount of tests, COVID tests, given per capita. But before I say the buts, before I give you the cons against her, she was chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus in her 3rd and final term in the House. Like I said, she served 3 terms in the House of Representatives. And she also has a lot of healthcare experience from previous positions that she held in state government. She would bring plenty of political and policymaking experience to the ticket, which would be wonderful. She has a strong electoral record, but it would be very tricky to join the VP ticket at this time where we're in the middle of a pandemic and she's trying to keep her state safe. And also, I just learned this one. It is such an unfortunate news. Apparently, she came under fire because I told you she closed down her state when there were only 4 confirmed cases in New Mexico. Great. Me encanta la idea. Wonderful. But apparently, people found out that she went out to buy, of all things, jewelry in the middle of the pandemic in an unsafe personal contact negotiation or purchase. Come on, Michelle. You don't need to go buy jewelry in the middle of a pandemic. We're all wearing pajamas and we don't even wear our shoes. Why do you need collares? I don't know what she was buying, but come on. No, don't do that. And she's also from a very small state. And she doesn't have the national profile that the other candidates have built. So there's that. If you're joining me in the Instagram, head over to my YouTube channel. And while you're in the YouTube channel, please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. I'm going over all of the different, or not all, but the top candidates for VP that Biden could announce. So I hope this information is useful, by the way. I'm drinking a little bit of rosé. And I'm ready to move on to the next person. Let me see who I'm going to show you. If you have questions, I haven't seen any other questions, and some of the questions that people had, the other people answered, and I absolutely love that, and I'm very grateful. I think it was Eduardo that explained to my husband it was Eduardo that told my husband which district Val Demings represents. Go to YouTube. Yes, great. This is awesome. You know what? The other thing is that I think this is the first time I'm not freaking out about being on live on YouTube. Okay, let's look who else is on the list. Okay. We're going to change. We talked about 3 Black women. We talked about 1 Latina. Now we're going to talk about 1 Asian candidate. Who do you think it is? Boop. We're going to talk now about Senator Tammy Duckworth. This woman, I love her. She's a senator from Illinois. And she is an Asian American. You might have heard about her for many, many different reasons. 1, she is the first senator to give birth while in office. Like, amazing. She also lost her 2 legs fighting in Iraq. And she is a veteran. And she proves that all of these claims that the Democrats are anti-military are completely ridiculous. Eduardo, you're getting ahead of me. Eduardo in the chat is very good with he's on top of stuff. And then Criminal Trump is asking about Susan Rice. I already covered Susan Rice. So you're going to have to watch the replay because we already talked about her and how amazing she is and how accomplished she is. But right now we're talking about Tammy Duckworth. So she's the U.S. Senator from Illinois. She's a veteran who lost both of her legs fighting in Iraq. She's been very active on military issues, veterans issues, disability issues, and her seat would probably be secure if she has to go serve somewhere else. Eduardo, do not apologize because I absolutely love all of your help. So don't stop. Please don't stop. Hernan, that was not funny. But even though she is a person of color, no idea how she would connect with Black activists as a VP choice. And there's not a lot of, is known about her issues beyond what she specializes in. She also, one of the other things that was against her was nobody knows how good she is as a speaker. And we do know how some of the other candidates are as speakers. If you're just joining me on Instagram, head over to YouTube because I'm talking about the different VP candidates that Joe Biden could announce next week. And I can show you photos of them on my screen, which is something I cannot do on Instagram. So I wanted to tell you some other things. So she's only 52 years old. She spent 4 years in the House of Representatives before going to the Senate in 2016. I already said this, but it's awesome and you have to repeat it. She's the first senator to give birth while in office. She was Assistant Secretary of Veteran Affairs in the Obama administration before winning a seat in the House of Representatives in 2012. She was the first Thai-born woman elected to Congress. And she also got a lot of popularity recently because she got into a Twitter fight with stupid Tucker Carlson, who's a Fox News host. And I'm going to take a sip of wine before I say this. Because that little punk, and I'm not going to say any other big words because I know my daughter's watching, called this woman, a veteran who lost both of her legs, is a Purple Heart recipient, a coward. And so she told Tucker Carlson to go walk a mile in her legs, which just takes a lot of guts. And she also criticized military leaders for standing with Trump after he had peaceful protesters removed from Lafayette Square for his stupid photo op with the Bible. She has not run for national office. And so she hasn't undergone the same kind of like scrutiny and research that other candidates have. And I think that's that's it for what we have on Tammy Duckworth. So far, we have talked about a few, and I know you are eager because I already started seeing some of the names popping up. We have talked about Karen Bass. We've talked about Susan Rice. We've talked about Val Demings. We've talked about Michelle Lujan Grisham. Did I mention anybody else yet? No, I don't think so. And we obviously talked about Tammy Duckworth. Go over to my YouTube because it's going to be much better. You're going to be able to see who I'm going to talk about that. Anybody on the YouTube want to guess who I'm going to mention next? And don't say the top two. You know who the top two are. Don't say those because I'm going to save those until the end. Okay? I think one name we definitely have to talk about is... She's one of my favorite people that I discovered recently. We're going to take down the photo of Tammy Duckworth. And we are going to talk about... Nobody wants to guess. You guys are very quiet in the chat. We're going to talk about... Oh, I almost put Susan Rice up again. I have the wrong person. Here we go. We're going to talk about Stacey Abrams. So Stacey Abrams is somebody that I learned about maybe around 2017, if I'm being perfectly honest, when she decided to run for governor of Georgia. If you just joined me on Instagram, head over to my YouTube channel. Just search Tono Latino. Because I'm live there and you can see the photos of the women that I'm discussing and you will get the full experience. Okay? So she right now, after John Lewis's passing, is probably one of the leading voting rights advocates that we have here in the United States. She ran for governor of Georgia in 2018 and she lost by 50,000 votes in an election that we all know was so manipulated by the person who won, who happens to be Brian Kemp, who at the time was Secretary of State, and he changed things and just, there was so much voter suppression in Georgia in 2018, it's absolutely ridiculous. David, I have no idea what island that is. That's just the background on my computer, the one that comes in with the OS. So I'm talking about Stacey Abrams. She, as I was saying, her name became very popular and more nationally recognized as she was a very strong candidate for becoming governor of Georgia in 2018. And she lost by like a smidge, por un pelito, así de 50,000 personas de votos, she lost. And here's the other thing. As of last month, she had not been vetted by the Biden campaign. To be honest, her chances are very slim, but I'm bringing her up because you definitely need to know about Stacey Abrams, not just about her, but you also need to know about what her organization is doing. So as I said, after John Lewis's passing, she's probably one of the strongest advocates for voting rights in this country. And after she lost, she founded a voting rights organization called Fair Fight that has been focusing on voter laws and voter registration around the entire country. She was courted by Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to run for the Senate in Georgia, but she turned him down. If you want to support a Senate candidate in Georgia, check out John Ossoff. I can write it down in the comments. John Ossoff, who is an amazing, and I'm going to say kid because I swear to God, I think I could be old enough to be his mother, but he's incredible. And you should definitely check him out. And he's much better than the jerk he's competing against. What else can I tell you about Stacey Abrams that you should know? She was close to becoming the first Black governor of Georgia, as I mentioned. She has an ability to activate voters who are traditionally ignored. And she has said something that I recently heard and I find very wise. And I'm going to say it and then I'm going to explain it, because when I said it to my husband and my other friend, Beth, they were like, what does that mean? So in an interview with Jason Kander, who hosts the Majority 54 podcast, he asked her apparently before, like, if they should focus on, getting Trump supporters to support whoever was the Democratic candidate, or I guess it was for something else. But this expression still works. You can work on trying to get Catholics to become Baptists, or you can focus on getting Baptists to go to church. And she focuses on getting Baptists to go to church. What does that even mean? You can try to get people that are never going to vote for Biden and spend all of your energy trying to convince them to do that, which is going to take a ton of energy and you're not going to get very far. Or you can focus on people who would be likely to vote for him. They just need a little bit of a push to go to church and vote. In this case, the church is the polls, okay? And that's actually what I've been telling myself and what I've been telling a lot of friends that are very frustrated with relatives or friends of theirs that are just not on board with who the Democratic candidate is going to be. And it's more important to get people to spend more of your energy wisely, because we have a finite amount of energy and we're also in the middle of a pandemic and things are rough for absolutely everybody. So that was another person that I wanted to tell you about. While I take her down, does anybody want to guess who I'm going to talk about next? We have covered, I'm going to tell you if you just joined, we have covered Val Demings, U.S. Representative from Florida, apparently from District 10, thanks to Eduardo in the chat, who's telling me. Susan Rice, who used to be in the National Security Council. We've talked about Karen Bass. She's a representative from a district in Los Angeles. I don't know which number. We've talked about U.S. Senator from Illinois, Tammy Duckworth. We've talked about Governor of New Mexico, Michelle Lujan Grisham, who happens to be the only Latina being considered for this. And we've talked about Stacey Abrams. So now we have to talk about the two women that I'm going to talk about, and you saw the photos. So we've not talked about any, I guess, white Caucasian women yet. So you know who I'm going to bring up. We are going to talk about Elizabeth Warren. So let me tell you a little bit about Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren happens to be the one person on the list with the most name recognition. And I'm going to share with you a graph shortly after I present with you with all the names so that you can see that. She has a large progressive following. She's a progressive. And she is a superstar on a lot of economic and financial issues. Now, she dropped out of the presidential race after Super Tuesday and she supported Biden. She has helped him bring a ton of money. Like apparently in one event, she brought in $6 million. She's 71 years old, but she has more energy than a lot of 35-year-olds that I know. And she has a lot of reputation or popularity because of her financial know-how and everything. She pitched the idea of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to Obama, and he appointed her as a special assistant on his staff to help create the bureau, but she didn't name her as director, and that's what prompted her to go run for the Senate. So she has also become a key advisor to Biden on policy, and he has already adopted a lot of her plans on student loan debt and bankruptcy and Social Security. What else can I tell her? One of the cons is that a lot of people feel that it would handicap the ticket with the white working class, especially men. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the live, people like Karen Bass and a lot of people think that Joe Biden needs to name a woman of color to be with him on the ticket because of what is going on in this country. And I see that over and over again. I also see the not opposite argument, but I do see the argument of like, oh, it doesn't matter who he picks or that whoever they poll. And I'm going to mention Kamala Harris. Kamala or Warren just seemed to be the same. And I've even heard, I don't know, I haven't been able to find the poll that theoretically says that Black voters are okay with Warren on the ticket. So also, apparently right now, Biden is on a fundraiser with Warren, and I had no idea this was going on. Melissa just reminded me of that. But my friend Brett also mentioned it. So if you're on Instagram, head over to my YouTube channel because you will be able to see the photos that I'm sharing. And it's a much better experience, like watching this. So what else can I tell you about Elizabeth Warren? I have a lot of notes and I don't want to bore you to death. As I said, she's 71, but she has so much energy. She was the first woman to represent the state of Massachusetts. The other thing is that probably it's likely that her seat would, if she gets picked, this would create a this would trigger a special election because she was just reelected in 2018 in Massachusetts. And it's unknown what would happen to her seat because even though Massachusetts leans Democratic, they have a Republican senator. They elected a Republican senator in a special election 10 years ago. I believe they also have a Republican governor. Unless I'm crazy. Eduardo, you can correct me because you seem to be on top of everything. So it's unknown. She's strong though. She is strong. And we have to talk about the next name. I mean, I'm not even going to pretend to ask you to guess because even my 5-year-old daughter knows who I'm going to mention next. We're going to talk about Kamala Harris. And honestly, friends, I didn't pick Kamala to be my last name. I actually am going to mention 2 more women after this. But Warren and Harris, I didn't know who to name first. So, Eduardo, thank you for confirming that. I just wanted to make sure that the wine didn't go to my head. We're going to talk about Kamala Harris. Kamala has a lot of things going for her. So she's one of the favorites, as I've mentioned. She, unlike Elizabeth Warren, who is very much on the left, and she's probably the most left candidate for this position, Kamala Harris is right in the middle, ideologically. She has a solid resume. She was Attorney General for the state of California. She was also San Francisco city prosecutor. As Eduardo was pointing out, she is both Black and Asian American. She has presidential campaign experience, and she was also vetted for the campaign, which means that she went through a lot more opposition research than many of the other candidates. I had to look up this word in the article that I was reading. She's telegenic. And I'm like, this sounds like a superpower. No, it just means that she looks good on TV, and she does. This woman looks. Sometimes Kamala Harris is one of those people that are so beautiful you can't stop looking at them. From my perspective, I don't know. And she is fluent on a wide range of issues. This woman can debate obviously she was a Attorney General for the state of California. She is on top of it. Like, she's amazing. The other advantage is that there would be very small risk if she has to sacrifice her seat in the Senate. She has gotten a very good reputation as a debater and for grilling the Trump administration officials and nominees during hearings. She is the only Black woman currently serving in the Senate. However, there's a lot of Biden supporters that are upset at the way she criticized him in the Democratic debate back in June 2019, which feels like 5 years ago, let's be honest. She criticized him for his record on school desegregation. It was something that we all saw. There was a little paragraph that explained it a little bit better. She also criticized him on his friendship with a segregationist. She's only 55, looks incredible, super young and energetic. And that is also important because Biden will turn 78 in November. So he is the oldest person that would become president. God help us. She has some baggage from her time as California Attorney General. So she opposed legalizing marijuana. She refused to weigh in on ballot initiatives to repeal the death penalty. And she did not back state legislation requiring independent investigations in cases where police officers killed people. So that is going against her. Also, during her presidential campaign, there was a lot of leaks and infighting, and she has changed her political team, but the Biden campaign has been under very strict discipline, so they want to maintain order. So that's something to consider. We know that one of the things that Biden has specifically said he is looking for is for somebody that is ready to be president on day one. Let's be perfectly honest. He's old and he has apparently like a heart condition. So if something happens, we need somebody who's ready to be vice president like right away. None of these women, could ever, actually, a 5-year-old child would do a better job than the monster we currently have. So all of these women are perfectly capable of improving our situation if for some reason they had to take over the presidency. So it's not something that makes me super worried, but Kamala does have a lot of experience. Warren has a lot of experience, whatever. So that is my top 8 women that Biden is presumably considering to be his running mate. Some other names you might have heard of that have been floated around. So our Atlanta City mayor, Keisha, I forgot her last name, Lance Bottoms. She's gotten a lot of notoriety. I think that's how you pronounce it. Notoriety. This year because of 2 things. The protest in Atlanta after the George Floyd killing, and her feud against stupid Georgia Governor Brian Kemp because he sued her over her mandate to wear masks in Atlanta. Her chances are very slim. And the other one is Gretchen Whitmer. She's the governor of Michigan. She's great, but her chances of becoming VP are very, very small. So That's why I didn't want to go and talk about them. And that is my recap for you guys. I don't see any other questions here. I see some very interesting comments. Eduardo confirming that Massachusetts does have a Republican governor who would also probably appoint a Republican senator while they can figure out the special election that would get triggered if Elizabeth Warren were chosen as the VP. It is very, very, very likely that we will find out who that person is by the time I do my next YouTube live next Friday. Because Biden said it would be the first week of August. And there is more and more and more pressure for him to name who his running mate is. So I hope this was useful. If it was, give me a thumbs up. I will post this as soon as I can so you can share it with other people. And don't forget to subscribe on my channel. Have a wonderful Friday. I'm going to finish my wine that I didn't finish drinking because I was talking so much. Thank you for joining me. This was a treat. I think I'm getting a little bit better each week at these YouTube lives. The first week was a disaster. Then it was a little bit better. Today, I think, was a little better. And I don't know what we're going to do next week. Maybe we will go back to our top 10 good news. But if we have something news related to discuss, I will definitely bring it up. Have a wonderful weekend. Ciao. Are you sure you want to?